Imagine swimming in the open ocean when suddenly everything around you becomes strangely quiet. The water is cold and deep beneath you. There is nothing to see except endless blue stretching in every direction. Then, far below, a dark shape appears. It moves slowly at first, almost silently. You cannot hear it coming. You cannot even see its face. But it can see you. And it has been hunting in the oceans of our planet for millions of years. This is the great white shark. The great white shark is one of the most famous predators on Earth. Its enormous body, powerful jaws, and rows of sharp teeth have made it a symbol of the ocean. But movies have created an image of the great white that is only part of the story. The real animal is far more fascinating than fiction. Great white sharks can grow to enormous sizes. The largest individuals are estimated to reach around 6 meters in length. Although exact maximum sizes are difficult to confirm. Imagine a predator longer than a small car moving through the water with almost no sound. And its body is perfectly designed for this environment. The shark's shape is streamlined, allowing it to move efficiently through the ocean. Its powerful tail provides most of its forward movement, while its fins help it control direction and balance. But the most impressive part may be its senses. A great white does not need to see its prey clearly from a distance. Sharks have an extraordinary sense of smell, allowing them to detect tiny concentrations of chemicals in the water. They can also detect vibrations and movements through a specialized sensory system called the lateral line. And then there is something even more remarkable. Around the shark's head are tiny sensory organs, called the ampullae of Lorenzini. These organs allow sharks to detect extremely weak electrical signals produced by the muscles and nervous systems of other animals. In other words, even when an animal is difficult to see, a great white may still be able to detect that something is alive nearby. But the ocean is not an easy place to survive. Food is scattered across enormous distances. Temperatures change, and young sharks must survive among larger predators. Every successful hunt requires energy, and wasting energy can be dangerous. So great whites have developed a very specific hunting strategy. Instead of constantly attacking everything they encounter, they often investigate potential prey first. This is where the famous image of the shark suddenly appearing from below comes from. In some locations, great whites hunt seals and sea lions. They may approach from deeper water and then accelerate rapidly toward the surface. The attack can be explosive. A shark weighing hundreds of kilograms can launch its entire body out of the water. This spectacular behavior is known as breaching, and it can happen when a shark attacks prey near the surface. For a few seconds, the ocean becomes almost completely chaotic. The seal tries to escape. The shark accelerates upward, and suddenly, several hundred kilograms of predator can emerge from the water in an incredible burst of power. But great whites are not simply killing machines. In reality, they spend most of their lives moving through the ocean, searching for food, traveling between different areas, and conserving energy. They also have a fascinating relationship with temperature. Unlike many fish, great white sharks can maintain parts of their body warmer than the surrounding water. This allows their muscles, brain, and other organs to function efficiently, even in relatively cold environments. This ability gives them an advantage over many other marine predators, and their journey through the ocean can be enormous. Some great white sharks travel thousands of kilometers during seasonal migrations. Scientists have tracked individuals moving between feeding grounds and offshore areas, sometimes crossing huge stretches of open ocean. But why would a shark travel so far? Because the ocean changes. Different prey become abundant in different places at different times of year. A shark may spend months near a coastline where seals are common, then travel far offshore before eventually returning to another feeding area. The ocean is not just a home. For the great white, it is a constantly changing map of temperature, currents, prey, and opportunity. And then there is one of the strangest things about these animals. We still do not know everything about them. Despite decades of research, many details of great white behavior remain mysterious. Scientists have discovered that individual sharks can have different personalities and behaviors. Some are more cautious. Others are more curious. Some repeatedly visit the same locations. And some travel enormous distances across the ocean. Even their social behavior is more complicated than the image of a completely solitary predator suggests. Great whites may encounter each other around rich feeding areas, and researchers continue to study how these interactions work. But perhaps the biggest mystery is their early life. Great white sharks give birth to live young, but scientists have rarely observed the actual birth process in the wild. Pregnant females are extremely difficult to study. Young sharks spend their early years in coastal nursery areas, where they can find food while avoiding some of the dangers found farther offshore. And those young sharks are already equipped with the same basic hunting machinery as adults. Sharp teeth, powerful senses, and a body built for speed. But there is one thing they do not have: size. A young great white is vulnerable to larger predators, including other sharks. Growing up in the ocean is dangerous. Every day is a competition for survival. And this is where evolution becomes fascinating. The great white shark is not ancient because it has remained unchanged. Its ancestors changed constantly. The lineage leading to modern great whites developed through millions of years of evolution, adapting to changing oceans and changing prey. One of its most famous relatives was the enormous megalodon. Megalodon was not simply a giant great white. It belonged to a different lineage of sharks, but the comparison is still incredible. Megalodon was vastly larger than any modern great white, with estimates suggesting it may have reached more than 15 meters in length. It lived millions of years ago and hunted large marine animals. For a time, enormous predators dominated the oceans. Then the world changed. Climate changed. Marine ecosystems changed. Prey populations changed. And eventually, Megalodon disappeared. The great white survived. That survival is one of the most remarkable parts of its story. But today, the great white faces a very different kind of threat. Humans. Great white sharks are often feared because of rare attacks on people, but humans are not their natural prey. Most shark attacks on humans are believed to be investigative or mistaken identity events rather than deliberate attempts to hunt people as food. From the shark's perspective, a person swimming or surfing near the surface can sometimes resemble another marine animal. The problem is that even an investigative bite from an enormous predator can have devastating consequences. This has created fear that has lasted for generations. But the danger goes both ways. Humans kill large numbers of sharks through fishing, bycatch, and other pressures. Great whites also face threats from habitat changes, pollution, and declining populations of some prey species. Fortunately, conservation efforts have helped protect great white sharks in several parts of the world. And researchers are learning more about them every year. Electronic tags can follow their movements. Genetic studies can reveal relationships between populations. Underwater observations help scientists understand their behavior. Every new discovery changes our understanding of these animals. And perhaps that is what makes the great white shark so fascinating. It is not a monster. It is not an unstoppable killing machine. It is a highly specialized predator that has spent millions of years adapting to one of the most difficult environments on Earth. It can sense tiny electrical signals. It can detect chemicals in the water. It can travel thousands of kilometers. It can accelerate with incredible power. And it can survive in cold oceans where many other predators would struggle. When you see a great white shark moving silently through the blue, you are not simply looking at a dangerous animal. You are looking at the result of millions of years of evolution. A predator shaped by ancient oceans. A hunter whose body is almost perfectly designed for its environment. And perhaps the most incredible thing is this. The ocean is still largely unexplored. There are places beneath the waves that humans have barely seen. There are behaviors we have never witnessed. There are journeys we have never tracked. And somewhere beneath the surface, great white sharks are still moving through the darkness. They were here long before modern civilization. They survived changes that destroyed countless other species, and they continue to patrol the oceans today. So the next time you see the image of a great white rising from the deep, remember that you are seeing more than a famous predator. You are seeing a survivor, a living piece of evolutionary history, and perhaps one of the most perfectly adapted hunters the ocean has ever produced.